So without further ado, I introduce our guest speaker, Stacey Wooden. Stacey's career span over 20 years. She has a variety of experiences, wearing many hats in the industry, ranging from roles as a nanny to a house manager, from a private personal assistant to roles in estate management. She is a native Angelino, a mother and a devoted industry professional, looking to build strong relationships with her clients. She believed that her two most valuable assets are high net worth and high reputation. Stacey's role has come a long way in many forms, but one thing has remained: her love for being an intricate part of an ever-growing industry. She strives for her continued success, not just within herself, but with her peers and those moving in the same direction. She is someone who continues to gain momentum by helping everyone in any way she can. Stacey does it all with her eyes on the big picture, and she's also the owner of lifestyle management services. So Stacey, I want to say thank you and welcome and gracing us with your presence today on this platform.
Thank you, Kim. And then also, I'm also an INA ambassador for LA, just like Kim, and a board member for the Newborn Care Specialists Association as well. So, okay, so social media. And then Kim, if you want to ask questions and come in, Kelsey, you too. I really like my stuff to be a little bit more free flowing. So if you have questions, just shoot them at me and we can, so social media. Social media is your billboard, right? So everybody nowadays, when you get a referral, even if it's from someone you trust, or you hear about someone, or you are a parent and you're getting resumes from an agency or pretty much anything, even somebody responding to an ad on care.com or on, one of the many nanny groups where people can find nannies or newborn care specialists. What's the first thing you do? You search their name on Google, right? Or you go on Facebook and Instagram and you search their names. And Google will usually, if their names are on their profiles, will pull it up as well. But everybody does that nowadays. We've been groomed to do that. Why? Because we want to know how that person truly is. We want to know about their experience. We want to know about what they talk about. We want to know if our values align with their values and things like that. And let's be honest, as nannies and newborn care specialists, we do that too. Right? As soon as we get the parents' names, we're Googling it and we're doing the same exact thing. It's your billboard. Social media is your billboard. And that's why it's so important that on that billboard, you're representing yourself in a way that is professional. And you're representing your experience and your education and what you want. And of course, you can have a personal profile, right? I have my own personal profile that I have locked down that only people I really truly know are on that. And that's where I put the pictures of my kids and that kind of stuff. And then my other profiles are more on a professional level. And that's totally okay. But how you represent yourself is super important. So for my specialty when it comes to social media are birth workers. So newborn care specialists, sleep consultants, lactation, doulas, and all of that kind of stuff. And the reason why versus more nanny, because I can definitely do nanny as well, is because nannies are W-2 employees. They don't own their own business. They don't really have to go out and market themselves per se, like a newborn care specialist or a birth worker would. So of course there are nannies out there that have small businesses or side hustles and things like that, or they really want to be a nanny influencer out there where they're making brand deals and that kind of stuff with companies that have products that are geared towards children. And that's totally cool too. And you can totally do that. But it's all about how you represent yourself. So there's so many different platforms that you can go into when it comes to social media, right? So you have LinkedIn, you have TikTok, you have Instagram, you have Facebook, and you have Clubhouse. Those are the 5 most well-known social media platforms. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be on every platform, and you shouldn't, because if you're truly invested in marketing, because that's what social media is, if you're truly invested in marketing, it's not beneficial for anyone to be on all 5 platforms, because you can't give it the attention that it actually needs to grow. So normally I tell people that I'm working with or mentoring that they only need two-ish, depending on how much time you're spending into it, platforms to really focus on. And you need to make sure that the platforms you're focusing on are ones where your ideal client are. And that's like a big thing. So what is your ideal client, right? So for a birth worker, it would be someone who is about to have a baby, or they just had a baby. And if you're a lactation consultant or an IBCLC, maybe it's a breast, body, or chest feeding parent. If it's a sleep consultant that you are, then it could be somebody who, has a baby, obviously over 4 months old, adjusted, and who wants to get their baby to sleep. And it can be all the way up to, age 5 or older, for sleep. It just depends on what your niche is for that. For a nanny who's trying to be a brand ambassador, it will be, it could be other nannies that you're trying to talk to, or it could be parents as well that you're trying to talk to. So you really want to focus on who your ideal client is. You have to have a very clear understanding of who they are, and what they do, what their habits are, what they're looking at. You have to really break it down as much as you can. And the reason for that is because you want to make your whole profile that you pick based on that. So you need to talk to them through your profile. You need to put the hashtags on, if you're on Instagram or on TikTok, they use hashtags. You want your hashtags to be geared towards what they're looking at, and so on. So let's go through the different platforms. So LinkedIn is a very professional platform. So I recommend everyone at least have a LinkedIn profile, right? Because whether you're a nanny or a house manager or a birth worker, or whatever else, having at least a profile on LinkedIn is important, because business, like people that are professionals in the industry, like CEOs that you may be working for and such, they are on LinkedIn. So you need to at least have a profile on there in case they look you up with your resume and things like that they can look at, right? So at the very least, have that. Now, as far as the other platforms, Clubhouse was very big. It's not as big anymore. So I wouldn't necessarily focus on Clubhouse per se, but Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook are the ones that seem to need the most focus for being a nanny or a birth worker. So Facebook is very group centered, and that's their whole shtick is being groups, right? So you want to get into the mommy groups, you want to have a business page, you want to get into the parenting groups and things like that. Now, obviously, all the different groups have different rules to them, but there's always loopholes to the rules, right? So maybe you can't advertise in a mommy group and straight out say, hey, I'm a nanny and I'm looking for a job, but you can go on. Hey, Sue. You can go on, and if someone, search keywords, and if they are asking about needing a nanny or something like that, you can respond. And that's the loophole per se when it comes to groups on Facebook. You need to keep up with your Facebook profile, business page. Even if you're a nanny, you can have a care page. If you're a birth worker, you definitely need to have a page for your business, and post on it. And when I say post, you want to have some sort of a strategy. I always say you don't want to throw spaghetti at the wall, right? You have to have a strategy to what you're posting. And we'll go over all of that a little bit later. But the same thing with Instagram. You need to have a strategy. Consistency is key when it comes to posting. So you need to pick whether you're posting 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 times a day, or not a day, a week. Sorry. I don't think you need to post every single day. I know a lot of clients that post 3 times a week and are very successful and are continuing to grow. You just need to be consistent though. So not only is consistency show trust, like gain trust from the people that are following you, but it also is great for the algorithms on all of the platforms as well. It helps you in the algorithms. So and then as far as TikTok goes, we know TikTok is strictly short form video, which is huge right now. And actually Instagram has short form video as well, which is Reels, and it's now coming onto Facebook. You might not have it yet. It is coming for sure. So even YouTube has short form video. Everybody, that's the bandwagon that they're hopping on. And that's how you're going to grow. Like that's how you're going to grow the fastest. That's how you're going to get out there and have more eyes on you, even people that don't follow you, because the algorithm will put it into people's, into their feeds if that's the type of stuff that they're following. So short-term video is so important. And that doesn't mean you have to dance. It doesn't mean you have to lip sync. It doesn't mean you have to sing. You can just give value. And that's what's really important about social media right now is it's not like the days of the past where it was these beautiful pictures that, look like a professional photographer took them and the lighting is perfect and your makeup is that's not social media anymore. It's about value. It's about what you're bringing to the table. And that's what people want to see. They want to hear what you have to say and what information you can give them and provide for them. So that is super important on all platforms at this point. And that's what parents want to see when they're looking for a nanny or when, they're looking for a birth worker, they're looking to hire you. They want to know the value that you bring. Now, you don't need to give away the whole farm. I am a true believer, though, that if you give away a ton of information, you're still going to have people coming to you. And the reason for it is it's human nature for us not to want to do it and just hire out for it, right? It's human nature. Like, how many times have you been like, I know, like for me, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to diet. Oh, I don't want to cook. I'll just order, a meal prep service, and just have the meals there for me, or same kind of concept, right? You like the kind of work that birth workers or nannies do. Parents can't do the same thing. They need your 2 sets of hands, and your 2 sets of hands, they'll never be able to replace that. So they want somebody who they trust and they like, and they feel like they know. And that's a great way to build that through social media, like by showing your knowledge and what you bring to the table. So Sue, if you have any questions, shoot them in, like feel free to interrupt, because we're a very small group, obviously. So just whatever. I'm very free flow. So
I'm so sorry I was so late. I was gonna take a shower and look like a human being, and
you're totally fine. totally fine. So those are the main platforms. So what do we want? So what do we talk about when strategy, right? So for, again, your ideal client, it depends on what they're looking for. So I'm going to use birth workers as an example, because that's my main type of clientele and what I create a lot of social media around. So let's say you are a newborn care specialist and you are trying to build a strategy. So again, your ideal client is most likely a parent who is pregnant, right? So they are planning for the future, for postpartum, when they come home from the hospital and they need a second set of hands. So that's your ideal client. That's who you're looking for. So your strategy should have, the easiest way to come up with a strategy is you want to have content pillars. So you should have a content pillar for every post, how many posts you're doing in a week. So let's say you're doing 3. So you want 3 content pillars. So maybe one of your content pillars is education, right? So on that particular day, when you use that content pillar, you're doing an educational post. Maybe one day your content pillar is inspiration or motivation, right? And that could be a whole bunch of different things, from like a great quote that speaks to your audience and your ideal client, to a story, to something going on that's just very uplifting for that parent that's looking at it. And then I always recommend that in your content pillars, one of your days, you have a brand, like a spot where you talk about your own branding, who you are, and your story. Because we're in the service business, we're not in a product business. So you're selling yourself. So you need to gain that trust by telling people who you are, right? So now if you had a product, that might be a little bit different, right? I mean, who know, like think of Nike. Like, I don't know the owner of Nike, what their name, and I say he, but I don't know if it's even a he, but I don't know their name, right? I don't even know what they look like. So, and it doesn't matter, because we're buying a product, we're not buying their service, right? But for us, we're products. Whether you're a nanny or a birth worker or anything, you're a product that they're buying, you're providing a service. So you need to sell yourself. So that's why one of your content pillars should be you. And I mean, that can change from maybe one week you introduce yourself, or one week you talk about why you got into this work. Or maybe it's a story about, a memory that you had with a client. Or maybe it's doing this like this is like, I usually put more into it when I'm doing someone's strategy. I look at analytics and all that kind of stuff. But, it can be something as like, I have one client who she does postpartum, and she always does this shake for her, her clients. And it has all this good stuff in it that helps with healing. And so one of the posts, we talked about that shake and how to make it and what's in it and why the ingredients are important and what they help with postpartum. And, because that's something that she does for all of her clients, that was a post about her branding, essentially, because that's part of her brand. This is what she does for her clients. So yeah, and you can keep going. I mean, I have clients that have 5 posts a week. It just depends on you, but it has to be sustainable, because consistency is important. If you can't post 7 days a week, don't do it. So, if you can only commit to 3 days a week, that's fine. And there are ways to go about it that you don't have to do it in real time. There are schedulers, so you can pre-do your content and batch it out. I mean, as someone who does other people's social media, I'm not sitting here every day creating a post. And I don't recommend creating posts on the fly either. It's not beneficial. You need to really think about your post and what you're going to post, and really create the caption and create what you're doing. So, take a couple days a month, maybe one day it's checking your analytics, and we'll go into that more detail, and kind of seeing what posts people are resonating with, creating the content calendar one day. Then maybe the next day you write posts, you sit down for a couple hours and you just really write them all out. Maybe the next day you do pictures and graphics for it. So in that 3-day period, and it doesn't have to be that long, you could really knock it out in one day if you want to, but maybe in that 3-day period, you have your whole content for the whole month. And then you put it in a scheduler with your hashtags and you let it roll. You don't have to worry about doing it in live time. Now, that does not mean that you let it roll and never touch your social media, because engagement is a huge part of social media. I mean, it's called social media for a reason. They want you to be social on the app, right? So being social on the app is not only being social with the people who you follow and are in your feed, because that's what we're used to, right? We're used to scrolling the feed and, double tapping so that there's a heart, or, making a comment on what we see and who we're following. But just because we're following them doesn't mean they're following us. So what you're doing when you're looking at your own feed is you're telling the algorithm what you like to see, right? But you're not engaging with other accounts that are necessarily your ideal client. Because let's be honest, when we're following something, it's usually our friends or our family or products or services that we like or something like that, right? So you want to go in and you want to engage with places where your ideal client are. That's why it goes back to what I was saying is you really want to know who your ideal client is. You really want to know where they're hanging out, what they're doing, what they're looking at, what they're searching. You really need to do that research because you want to go to those places and you want to engage in those same places. So that way they see you and they're going to follow you. So
I do have a couple questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Talking about this, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
There's so many platform schedulers. Like I used to use Hootsuite, and then I stopped, and then I was using just the Facebook one. But now I'm trying to up my Instagram game. Mm-hmm. So if I'm really focused right now just on Facebook and Instagram, and I know I have to get the short form video, I'll get there, but I'm not there yet. One, is it okay to post the same content on both platforms? Like, is that okay? And second, is there one of those schedulers that you recommend? I mean, I know they're not free anymore, so I don't want to spend a lot of money on one that's not great.
So first part of your question was, can you post on both? Yes, but I will tell you, there are certain tweaks you need to make because, for instance, Instagram, if you put a link in your caption, it's not clickable. And let's be honest, nobody, you can't even click on it to copy. So nobody's going to sit there and go to their Safari it doesn't work, right? But in Facebook, you can put a link. So that's the biggest difference. That's the biggest difference, but also some of the verbiage, right? You're not going to say click link in bio on Facebook, because that's an Instagram thing, right? Or just little tweaks like that are what you really have to think about. But otherwise you can pretty much put the same. Now I will tell you, for scheduler, the Creator Studio, which is what you're talking about, Facebook, that's through Facebook. That's their own. If you're only doing Instagram and Facebook, that will get your, done what you need to be done, and it's free. If you want something a little bit more advanced, first of all, I will say I always recommend making sure that whatever scheduler you use, it's an Instagram partner. And that's the same thing with any programs that you're using as well, because if you're not using a program that's an Instagram partner, and when I say Instagram, Facebook owns Instagram, so it's meaning both of them, you can actually get your account suspended, because when you sign up, you're saying that you're not, you're not giving your information, you're not allowing third party programs and that kind of stuff. Now there are a lot, like Hootsuite is actually a partner, Planoli is a partner, Later is a partner. And if they're a partner, they say it. Like, you can Google and ask, like, oh, is this an Instagram partner? They will post it that they are, for sure. So I personally use Later. I really like Later. It's not cheap, I will tell you that. Right. I like it. It auto publishes, but here's the thing, here's the big difference is there is no other platform other than Facebook Creator Studio that can pre-post carousel posts. So if that's something that you do a lot of, I would stick with the Creator Studio, because otherwise you'll have to hand post carousel posts. And there is nothing right now that will post video for you. no reels, even TikToks. Like there are no schedulers that post that. You have to do that all by hand. Now you can save them in drafts, and then have them there so you can pre-edit them and that kind of stuff. But there's nothing that pre-schedules that. So it's like, it's hard. Now later has the option to push to your phone. So if you had a carousel post or you tried to like do a TikTok or something like that, it'll push to an app on your phone and you could do it that way. I will tell you, I'm not a huge fan of that personally. So what I tend to do is if I have a client that I have a short form video or a carousel post, I just end up doing it by hand. Unfortunately, there's not really a great option for that yet. So now Instagram does have the option as well to draft your stories now too. So you can do that for up to 7 days. You just got to be creative with it, to be honest with you, unfortunately. Metricool is another one that my mentor actually like raves about. And supposedly they have amazing analytic reports. So if you're really going to look at your analytics, and Later does too, Later sends you a weekly analytics report. You just have to make sure you like click the toggle so that it sends it to you. But that kind of stuff, it breaks it down for you. So like, I love that stuff. I love being able to easily, instead of having to go into the app and go through all the steps and and you want to check your analytics because you want to see what people like. So that way you can do more of that type of content. So does that answer your question?
Yes. No, that's
okay.
super helpful, actually. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I wish there was just like one platform that just had it all, but unfortunately, now I will say that Later allows like TikTok, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook. So if you're okay with the push feature, like I think they have the most robust type of scheduler, but it is expensive for a personal account. I think for just posting one account, it's free, but anything over that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it typically tends to be like, it's not too bad. It's like $15 a month or something like that. It's not horrible.
It's kind of the cost of doing business right now, unless you're going to spend hours, scheduling this out. Because Creator Studio is sort of good, but it takes a long time too. And
yeah, even Canva now has an option too. I don't know if you knew that, and you can literally just like create your graphic and write that in there, like schedule it out. So I haven't used that yet, but I thought that was really smart on the business aspect, and their partner too. So
I'm sure that there are other nannies that are in this situation. For me, the complication is like Kim, like Kels, like a lot of people, we have like lots of things. So you're talking about your personal stuff and then this business and then this volunteer there's just a lot of things, so that it's almost like you have to find something that can handle different accounts.
Yeah.
Different parts of like what you're working with.
Yeah, I mean, the other option is if you hired like a VA to post in real time, but then again, you're paying a VA to do it. So it's just kind of, yeah, unfortunately. I mean, that's like part of my service. So like when someone hires me, like I deal with all the postings so they don't have to worry about it. But that's
good.
Part of, that's part of having this social media manager. But I also like create the content for them, and I source pictures, create graphics. I literally do it all. So obviously nobody would be able to take their hands off 100% because like I said, you guys are the face. So, if we did short form video, I tell you what I need and how to do it, and it needs to be your face. Same thing with stories. It needs to be your face. So when anybody that tells you otherwise, like you have to, like, it's because you provide a service. Now you provided a product and nobody knew your face, it wouldn't matter. You have some really cool TikToks, like Ryan Air, for instance. I love their TikTok. If you ever want to like go and check that one out, it's so funny. But they don't, nobody knows who the head of Ryan Air is or whatever. Like they're selling an airline service. They're not, so their social media manager has like one of the airplanes, and then I'm sure you've seen that filter where it's just like the nose and the mouth and the eyes, and so they make the airplane talk. And that's the whole like the whole, it's hilarious, like it's so creative. I'm like, this is genius. And there are ones like that, you know, like Scrub Daddy, like they have a really cool one too, because like it's all about the sponge, so it doesn't matter whose hand it is. So you know, the social media manager clearly is doing the hand, but you know, the owner doesn't need to be in it. I mean, he is in a couple, but because it's a product, it's not a service. So it's funny though, some of those are like amazing, the way that they like they do that. It's so funny.
Even with the nanny agencies, you can tell there's some agencies that are better at like giving that personality. Like for instance, I don't know if you know White House Nannies. So Barbara Klein's daughter is now more involved and she does amazing Instagram, like the posts with, you know, the words, and she's not really dancing. She like, it's like perfectly, because I think the other thing that's hard for nannies and nanny businesses is you want to be warm and inviting and personal and fun, but you also have to be professional. So that's like a hard line. And especially if you're a nanny or an agency, like promoting that service.
I mean, I think you can still be fun and be professional. I mean, you know, clearly you don't want to pick music that like, you know, talks about inappropriate things, or, you know, have like a voiceover of something that's talking about something inappropriate. But I think there's still a way for you definitely to be professional and fun. The thing that and this is like a personal thing for me, I find it a little weird when I see an agency where you can see it's the social media manager that's doing it. And I'm like, but where's the owner? Because I know the owner. So where's the owner? Like I want to see the owner giving me these tips, not someone I don't know that I've never met.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, that's kind of what I look at, but I don't know if everyone else thinks that way or not, but that's how I think about it when I'm like, oh, who, you know, plus to me, it's not recognizable because I've, you know, I don't want to name one on, but like there's one out here who I know the owner. She's a very well-known face in the industry. And so when I see her company's stuff, I don't put it together that it's her company stuff because I don't know the person's face who's in the stuff. Yeah. So I feel like that's a disadvantage in my eyes, right? Because when I see her face, I stop scrolling because I know it's her.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and I would guess if you're a nanny, that consistency of being a face that people recognize, that's a good point because people will stop because they know you.
Exactly. And especially because let's be honest, like a lot of agencies have staff that kind of revolves. So like what happens if that person's no longer there? Then you're going to have a new person and a new face that other people that they don't recognize now again. Like it's just, to me, that's not beneficial. So yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, but
no, you're fine. But you got to get on short form video, Sue. It's so important. Like even Instagram, the head of Instagram, he announced that like, yes, I mean, obviously they still have, you know, photos, but he announced that like they have a whole other algorithm for video. Like I've literally watched accounts this past year who like had barely any followers do consistent videos, and now they have like a ton of followers. Now granted, your video has to speak to your ideal client. You just can't randomly put up some video, you know. You can't be like one day, you know, you're very like, I don't know, breastfeeding centric, right? And then one day you're like posting something about the sky is blue. Like it's you're not gonna get an influx of people for that, right? But I will tell you, and the craziest things is like one video, and people get discouraged. One video may not get a lot of views, but then the next video can go viral.
Right.
and you just never know. So like I tell people, keep doing it. Like, even if you're getting 1,000 views, right? Which happens, right? I have accounts that have 200 followers and they'll get 2,000 views. Like, I was like, can you imagine that's 2,000 eyes on you? That's 1,800 more eyes in your account than you have. Like, that's successful, even if you didn't go so-called viral, right? But even the craziest things is like, I have an account that I do, and I posted a reel, and I was looking, I'm like, this is not going to do that great. Like, that's really what I thought in my head. 577,000 views.
Wow.
And probably 400 new followers from literally one that I was like, this is kind of dumb.
Do you think it's more content or style? Like, because that's always the hard part.
Content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people, I mean, especially nowadays, like if you follow any of like the major mommy people, mommies are now showing stretch marks and their mommy bodies and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And
it doesn't matter.
People love it.
It's just, if
you need to be relatable.
Content.
You need to be relatable. People want relatable and, you know, easily digestible is important, because remember, even with the video, it's quick. You know, you have 3 seconds, they say, to grab their attention. And if you don't, they swipe.
Yeah.
So it's really about like what you're putting out there and like what you're, you know, what people want to see. So, and that's why things like analytics and keeping on top of trends and that kind of stuff is so important, because, you know, you want to, trends are important. Like, people are showing that they're interested in that kind of stuff. So now you got to put your own flair on it, right? You don't want to copy the same thing that 10 other nannies are doing. Like, that's not, you know, but you can take what they're doing, that they're doing well, and use it as inspiration to create something of your own. So, and that's something I always tell my clients personally. I'm like, if you like a post that you see, screenshot it and send it to me, and I will use it as inspiration. Clear, don't want to copy by any means, but we can use it as inspiration. Yeah. So, or if you're using bits and parts of it and you're pulling out, like, say, like, you know, original inspiration by, and tag the person, give them credit. So, you know, and if you really like their stuff, put it in your stories and tag them and say that you like it and why you like it, because you never know, they could retag it, repost it in their stories, and then that's giving you more eyes on you that you didn't have originally, and helping the algorithm, because then people are going to your profile, looking at your profile, and that helps, because that's all what it's about. That's like, the algorithm is, you always hear it with the algorithm. Oh, the algorithm hates me. Oh, the algorithm this, the algorithm that. The algorithm is, it's AI. It's artificial intelligence. My feed, my feed could look completely different than your feed, even though we might like the same exact stuff. Why is that? Because we may be looking at different accounts, or we're looking at different hashtags, or we're looking, you know, we're liking different things. And every single action you make is telling the algorithm what to show you and what you like, because the whole key to social media is to keep you on the app as long as possible. Right. And why is that? If you've watched I think it's like The Social Experiment or something like that, which if you haven't, it's on Netflix. It's you got to watch it. They want to keep you on the app for as long as possible, because your attention is the commodity that they're selling. Right. They're selling ads to make money, and they're selling ads based on how many people are on the app and for how long they're on the app. So the longer they keep you on the app, the better. So the algorithm wants to show you what you want, which it's constantly learning and changing based on what you're doing on the app. For instance, like, I might look up hashtags on my personal account for a client, and then maybe it's, you know, I'm looking up, I have a client who, she's an MS advocate. So if I'm looking up MS, I'll start getting MS stuff in my feeds. Like, that's not necessarily something that I need to look at per se, because, that's not my thing.
Right.
But because I looked up hashtags for that on my account, for her account, now I start seeing it in my feed, because that's what I told the algorithm that I want to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why hashtags too. Hashtags are, especially on Instagram, and, hashtags are not important on Facebook, right? It's not used the same way. You don't need to put hashtags on Facebook. Instagram and TikTok are where you put hashtags, right? So hashtags on Instagram, it's the same thing. It's telling the algorithm who you want, like what that content is for, right? So that's why your hashtags need to be appropriate to not only the post, but who you want to see the post, right? And now if you put them in the caption, which Instagram just announced, they become searchable as well, but not just searchable as in like when you search a hashtag, but keyword searchable if they're in the caption. So that's important too. So no more in the first comment, it has to be in the caption. So, I mean, it doesn't have to, but that's how you make it searchable. If it's in the first comment, it won't be searchable. Searchable as a keyword, I should say. It is always searchable as a hashtag. So, but, like for instance, and it's spam too. If you're hashtagging, sleep consultant on a post that is about the COVID vaccine, and someone sees that, they can mark you as spam, and then your account then gets flagged. And if you have enough of those, then you can get suspended. So you got to have a hashtag strategy too. I will tell you, for hashtags, I just started using it, and I really like it. I think that it's maybe free for personal, but I use flick.tech. I just started using that. So that might be good for something for you to look into, Sue. And I know a lot of content creators that use flick.tech. And basically you can create hashtag banks. It tracks your hashtags and tells you what hashtags you trend on and how long you trend on them. So that way, like, oh, I should use that hashtag again. It also sends you analytics, even down to telling you how many times your link was clicked on, which a lot of it's not a normal thing. Like most analytics, you can't see that. Flick.tech tells you how many times your link was clicked on. So that's kind of a cool thing. I mean, we can't see if it converted, but at least you can see it's being clicked on. Now, speaking of link, when Instagram, I am a big believer in like a link tree or a milkshake, or having a hidden page that has links on your website or that kind of stuff. So that way you can really like utilize that one link to have multiple things in it. Now, if you are able to, I really, really recommend having a hidden page on your website, where you can swap out links. And the reason is for SEO, because if they're clicking your website, if they're clicking that link, it's still going to your website, which is helping your SEO, but they're able to still see multiple. So maybe you're doing, for maybe for Nanny Palooza, you want to like highlight a sponsor, right? So you want to highlight their page. So you did a post about them, right? And you can say, for more information about this sponsor, click in bio. They click the link, it goes to your hidden page. And on that, one of the links is, newborn care solutions or whatever, and then they can click on that link. Maybe that's something, you could offer,
that's
an incentive for being a sponsor.
Right.
But it gives you the option to have more links. And you can use that on TikTok in your profile. You can use it in Facebook in your about section for your Facebook page. And you can refer to that too, if you want to, on the other platforms.
That's very smart.
I'll give you all the tips too.
I like it. I'm like writing notes.
It's a lot, because especially for like well, I know Sue gets a lot, and in terms of nanny palooza and stuff, and she's used to that, but I'm not used to that type of life. Coming from a nanny now to an NCS, it's a lot. I mean, as a nanny, I interact with the parents, and that's it. It's done. Like, I had a website for my nanny page and stuff, so people know who I am now. Because as an NCS, you're always sorting out your next client. You have to keep up, and you might be on a 24/7 job, and it's hard to do. Like, I started mine, and it's just like sitting there like a duck. I know I had reached out to you about that as well. I mean, and thank you. You are a great source of help for me with this whole transition and helping me setting up my LLC. Like, I woke up the next morning, like, I know I sent you an email and I went to sleep, and I got up the next morning and all the links were there in my email. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot we are time difference, because I'm thinking now it's 1, 2 o'clock. And I'm like, what is she doing about 1, 2 o'clock doing all this research? But I forgot it was a whole time difference with all of that. And I mean, you're so on top of your game. I love your fast response with
Thank you.
everything once you have the time. And like, if you're not directly devoted at that minute, you'll send a message and say, you know what, give me a few. And trust me, I really admire that about you.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate
you
that.
helped me in a big way in starting this LLC, and everything just took off from there.
Thank
I'm
you. I
like,
appreciate that.
it's
Now we gotta get your
crazy.
social, like something
I
up on it,
know,
girl.
I know. And that's why I had reached out to you about it. And part of it why I did this too, because I know I need to learn more about it and what my next step in having my Instagram. Like, I'm getting better to go to videos, like all the Zoom meetings and stuff is preparing me to be like more on camera. Like, I always tell people, you need to go and watch that real talk with Tanya Sakowitz that I did, and come back and tell me what you think. And when they come back, I'm like, do you know such and such happened within that video? Like, I had to get off, like I was hot. I'm like, Tanya, I need to break. Like, I was totally flustered, and they spliced that, and you would never know that all of that happened. But doing that, it has really opened me up, because I have never been like an on camera person, and I'm still learning to be a lot more comfortable with it. So, yep, I'll get to the real part soon.
Listen, every single one of my clients fights me on Reels. Every single one. And I was like, we start off slow. Just give me 2 a month. And then slowly I start trying to work it up. You know what I mean? Like, and they get more comfortable. Like my client I was saying, who she went viral. I probably worked on her for 6 months. And once that one went viral, she would just sporadically send me one here and there. And I would send her ideas for inspiration literally all the time. And I would just get maybe 1 or 2 a month. Some months I wouldn't get any. And she went viral. And let me tell you, that girl sent me like 5 of them one day and was like, here, make these them.
It's a big shift for some of, like, so I'm comfortable on camera. I mean, I don't look it today, but I'm usually fine on camera and have no problems, but it's also the tech of it. Like, I don't even know how to make a reel. Like, I don't even understand.
Yeah.
So then it's like learning that part of it, learning how to be on camera, and realizing for nannies, even those and NCSs, even if it's kind of a mind shift change, because previously parents were more private, or this wouldn't be something you had to think about. You know, you would get your job from an agency, they would just send a paper thing. But now we're working for the moms that are having babies now. They grew up with this, so they're going to expect us to be able to do some of this.
Yeah.
And maybe not like, I mean, I don't know if you're just doing this as a nanny. you're not going to need 100,000 followers necessarily.
And you don't as a birth worker either. And I will get back to that. So I'm sorry I didn't interrupt you.
No. That's important to know. I mean, I don't, but you are going to have to be able to do some of it, I think.
Yes.
And especially if you're supporting yourself.
So it's a process. I mean, I'll tell you, the first time I ever made a reel for a client, it took me an hour. Yeah. Now I could put one together in about 5 minutes. Yeah. So you get used to it. I will tell you a couple things. One, so I use, if I don't create it directly in the app, and some of the app, like Instagram's come a long way, TikTok has come a long way. Now I will tell you, if you download from those apps to put into other things, like let's say you were doing TikTok and Instagram reels, you get a logo, and the logo is a big no-no for the other, like it'll hurt you in the algorithm. Now, let's say I have a lot of clients that like to make them in TikTok. Okay, so there is literally one program. I want to say it's save. Let me check. I think it's save.talk. Let me just check. Savetalk.app is what it is. And you can put the link to the video in it, and then you can download it without the logo, without the TikTok logo. And then you can upload it into like other things. I will tell you that music wise, all the apps want you to use the music within the apps. The more of their programs that you use, the more tools you use, the better it is for the algorithm. But especially music wise, you technically, especially because you don't own the rights to the music, you need to tell, people who the royalty, who essentially the music is. So that's why, like, especially Instagram and TikTok, they say like, you need to use what's in the app. Like you need to, so if you're creating an Instagram, and you want to put music in the background, upload it without music and add the music in when you're uploading for both TikTok and Instagram, if that's possible. I like my clients to record video for me and then send it to me, and I add in, the only difference would be if there was like a voiceover. If they were doing a voice or something, then they would need to use that voiceover, and normally they have to use 2 phones because they have the voice in the background, and but if you don't want to create in one of the apps, I use InShot. It's a free app. And another one that's big is Splice. So they're both free apps that you can create you can put sound into them, you can trim, you can, slice different, put together, all in the app. So it makes it a lot easier. There is like, I know I use InShot more. You can like press the little X by the logo for InShot, and then you have to watch like a 30-second ad, and then it gives it to you for free. So that's what I recommend. And it's all, trial and error and just getting used to making it. And, I wouldn't so much worry about like transitions and that kind of stuff, if you want to do that, even until you feel more comfortable editing the reels down and stuff, because that's what transitions are, right? It's all about editing. Right. So, but you don't have to do transitions to get attention either. But as far as what you were saying about the followers, like, this is the biggest thing. It really depends on what your goals are as a business. And that's why whenever I talk to like a potential client, I ask them that, right? Because if you're a birth worker, you have no plans of having an agency, it's only going to ever just be you, then you only have so many hours in a day. So you don't necessarily need 1 million followers, because you're not going to be able to sustain a large amount of clientele, because your time is very limited. Now, if you're like our Nanny Diary or Nanny Palooza, you want more followers, because one, our Nanny Diary is a product, so you can literally sell that all day long, and it doesn't matter how many hours are in the day. Or Nanny Palooza would be, you want to get out to all the nannies, so that way, they want to buy tickets to the, so it's very different. It really depends on what your business goals are. Even being a nanny, like, yes, you can have a ton of followers as a nanny if you just want to put yourself out there and give information. But as someone who, so you'd be more like a brand ambassador or an influencer versus like actually trying to find nanny jobs, because you can only take so many nanny jobs on at a time. So it really, all of those things play a factor in. It really depends on what your business model is. If you're a nanny and you want to be a brand ambassador, or you just want to be an influencer, like, that's totally cool too. But you also need to take in consideration that type of exposure is very different in the eyes of high profile clients than, the exposure of just putting yourself out there as an educational source. So even though parents do like that, us more out there now because they're all more millennials, there still is a level of, professionalism and secrecy in a way that, like, they don't necessarily, if they're high profile, want somebody who's a well-known face
right
with their kid. So it really kind of depends.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. So you have to take all of that in consideration when it comes into our type of business, and like what you're doing, like what your whole goal is for your social media. So like, I will tell you, I'm not going to say the name of it, but there is a nanny who's on TikTok, and she is a high profile nanny, and she posts things that, like, she's not showing anything she shouldn't, but she talks about like the life of like being a high profile nanny. And like, honestly, if that was me, and this is just me, I wouldn't hire someone who did that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't, no matter if she's not showing my kids, or she's not fully showing my house, like she's showing parts of my house, and she's showing parts of the things that I'm paying her to do, and she's showing parts of my neighborhood. And to me, like, if I was high profile, I wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful with that kind of stuff too. Yeah. So it's like a double-edged sword. You have to,
depends on what you're using it for, like what your end goal is.
Exactly. And what your ideal client is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, but TikTok right now is like, I'm in a couple like mastermind marketing groups, and everybody says TikTok. Like, so I'm actually really trying to like pivot over, because I had a conversation this week with a marketer who I was joking with her. I'm like, I'm fangirling while I'm on the phone with her. And I was telling her, I'm like, I really want to bring my clients' stuff to the next level. And she's like, TikTok. And I was like, really? She's like, TikTok. She's like, you could do TikTok and push it all over to the other platforms, but TikTok. So for you to TikTok.
I know. I started with TikTok, but then, so I have a Nanny Palooza account for TikTok, and we started at the last Nanny Palooza that we had in person in 2019. We like made a couple videos, in fact, and I did a few other ones at the beginning. But then I found myself in a black hole of watching TikTok videos. So I took it off my phone, because it was like, I can't spend hours watching teenagers do these funny things and whatever. And so it just takes up so much time. But now I have to pivot back, because.
So what somebody told me that was really great advice, that I was like, oh, that's genius, is only allow yourself as much time as you put into it. So if you spent an hour working on your TikTok creation, you have an hour that you're allowed to consume, and set a timer.
That's a good idea. Although I have to admit,
now but that way it's like even in, even out. But it's important also.
I mean, seriously, you could spend 17 hours watching the sea shanty videos, which it's even over now, I think, almost. But that was like, oh my gosh, that was so funny.
Yeah. But also, I mean, I will tell you, consuming is important too. An important aspect too, because you're seeing what's trending, you're seeing what people are doing, like you're using, because let's be honest, like marketing and that kind of stuff, it's not really reinventing the wheel.
No.
right? Like you're taking that wheel and you're tweaking it to you. Like you don't have to keep reinventing it. So you do want to consume information a little bit so that you can see what's going on. You have to know what's going on, or else your marketing efforts are not going to be worth it. So it is important to take a little bit of time to consume as well. But yeah, TikTok, you get on TikTok and then push it to Instagram, push it, push it all. And then, like I said, Facebook is about to launch Reels. Some people have it, some people don't, but they're about to. And you don't have to dance. I know people hate it. I know Tanya recently was talking about how she doesn't understand that, the video that everyone was like going like, like this. You don't have to do that. You can, like, I watch TikToks of people literally talking.
Yeah. Well, Angela Johnson does an amazing job with it, and she's always teaching. I have seen her dance, but a lot of the times the TikToks that she's doing are like educational and, 5 minutes of, or not 5, like 2 minutes of, or whatever it is, 3 minutes of, useful information.
Yeah. Now keep in mind the different platforms are different. So TikTok allows up to 3 minutes. Instagram only allows up to 1. So you need to keep that in mind for when you create content too, right? So if you're creating something on TikTok that's over a minute, you're not going to be able to put it into Reels. Yeah. Now you could put it into YouTube Shorts, but YouTube Shorts, I feel like hasn't really taken off the way that they were meaning for it. But you can also say something along the lines of, maybe you made a longer YouTube video on the subject and you can point them to that afterwards and be like, for more on this subject, click the link in my bio to see the full YouTube video. Now, because with YouTube, because there's a couple different ways to get paid, right? So with YouTube, you can, once you have so many subscribers, you then unlock being able to add ads. Instagram is the same way now too. You can unlock ads after you have so many followers and stuff like that, and add those to your videos, and then you get paid on those ads every time they're seen. So there's different ways to monetize the different platforms on top of sending people to like trying to sell whatever. Who does a really good job is why am I drawing a blank on her name? I had her as a speaker on Q2 for LA. She does Nanny Boundaries. I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
The Modern Nanny. That's what it is. Yeah. She does a really great job with Reels. Really great job. Yeah. So I love what she does for her accounts. Yeah. And, she sells without selling. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I do. Well, Jada Rashawn too. Jada does great Instagram reels. I feel like
oh my gosh, her reels are so amazing.
Like the role plays and all, like it's such
amazing.
Clever. It's very clever and creative, but also I'm always like, oh my gosh, did that take you like 12 hours to do?
Yeah. Well, Jada usually I can't speak all the time, but I do know that she has like a photographer that she works with and people like that. So she does hire out for that stuff. Yeah. But you can tell by the quality. Right. As well on her stuff. And it doesn't have to be like that high end quality, like the Modern Nanny. You can tell that she doesn't have some crazy, beautiful, camera. It's probably her iPhone, and that's okay. Right. She has a pretty decent following, a decent enough following where she's probably doing pretty good. I mean, I don't know for sure, and that's the thing too, is you could have 10,000 followers and be making 6+ figures a year. Right. You don't have to have 1 million followers to be a successful business.
No, because it can be very targeted.
Yes. And that's the whole point of social media. You need to be very targeted. You have to, what's the saying? If you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. Yeah. You have to be targeted. Like our nanny diary, your target is nannies and newborn care specialists, because they want the logs. They need the, and all of that. For Nanny Palooza, it's nannies, right? So like you can be very targeted with who you do it, but you need to engage also. So with engagement, I recommend about 15 to 20 minutes a day. I do not recommend spending hours engaging. I think that is insane. But it needs to be a mix. So the way the algorithm works is even if people are following you, they're not necessarily seeing your content. And I'm sure you've noticed that. Have you ever looked at your feed and be like, I haven't seen this person's stuff in a really long time? And you look and you're like, we're still friends. Like, it's because you haven't looked at their stuff in a long time. So it's telling the algorithm you don't want to see it.
Yeah.
So engagement is a couple things, right? So one, you need to engage with your followers, because if they're not seeing your stuff because you haven't engaged with them lately, the way to trigger that is to start engaging with their stuff so that they'll engage back, and then they're going to start seeing your stuff. So that is one way to engage. Another one is to, go into hashtags that are relevant to the type of content that you post and going and engaging. And when I say engage, I don't mean liking their photos. Like
you have to
actually go in and like say something like of value, not just be like, oh, great photo. You're not going to get a response from that. Like actually engage and start a conversation, and be genuine about it, right? Because people, if you're not genuine, it's like those cold DMs, like people are going to be like, yeah, I'm going to not respond to this, right? You want to like be genuine. So you can go into hashtags and I would go into recent, not into the ones, when you search a hashtag, there's two tabs. There's the first tab that you automatically get shown are like the ones with the most engagement. And then there's a recent tab. So click on recent and you'll see everyone who's used that hashtag recently. I would engage in those, if you have other influencer accounts within the niche, like maybe you're on, you follow Jada and that's maybe your ideal client, you can set up a notification where when she posts, it notifies you, and you go on there and you interact first. And if you're interacting and you're saying things that interest people, like people are going to look at your profile. You see, when you start doing that, you're going to see like your content reach is going to go up. And just being genuine. And you can DM people, but DM them with an actual purpose. Don't cold DM, like if you see someone who's like talking about needing, wanting more education and being a nanny, like, sure, like DM them and be like, hey, listen, I run Nanny Palooza. We're having a conference. It's a great, I saw that you were talking about this. Here's a link if you're interested, start a conversation, but like, don't just randomly cold DM people, obviously. But like, that's the whole point of social media, is be social, like, use it as a networking tool, talk to people. Like that's how you get the word out too. Plus you never know who's watching. I can't tell you how many times I've responded to someone else's comment about something social media wise, and then I have like 5 DMs in my inbox asking me questions, like people that clearly just saw that I was answering and was like, oh, she knows what she's talking about, let me ask her. But they don't want to ask on the post, they want to DM me.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. You never know. Or if people are going back and looking, people will search groups, maybe they're looking for educational activities, they're looking for a log of some sort or whatever, and they search the group, and then they see that you wrote or that people are tagging you or whatever. That all plays a part of it. It's all important. So
this has been so great. I'm glad I came, even though I was late. I didn't mean to hijack the whole thing, Kim. So.
No, it's perfect because it makes it easier when I'm actually talking to people, to be honest with you. It's kind of funny to have a presentation and I'm looking at a black screen and just looking at myself. So it really helps to like bring out, and then I know what people want to hear about and what to talk about. Because be honest, like social media, I did a course at the beginning of the year and like taught like the ins and outs of social media, 13 hours of content. Like, and the thing is social media changes all the time. They're constantly adding new features and new things. And staying on top of it and, all the different platforms. I mean, luckily, like that's what I do. So I have to stay on top of it. Like that's literally my job, but it's a lot. And you could like, there's so much to learn about social media. It's such an ever growing, interchanging, evolving, like living thing essentially.
Yeah.
So you just can't teach it in an hour.
No.
It's just not possible.
No.
So even like going through analytics and like understanding what every single analytic means, because you can look at it, but if you don't know what you're looking at, you don't know how to translate that into creating content,
Right.
And here's the thing too, Sue, you don't have to always create content because not everyone is always seeing it. Just, like we said.
Right.
So if you have a post that did really well 2 months ago, repost it. Because people, one, even if they did see it, they might not even realize that they're seeing it again because we consume so much content, right? Or two, someone might not have seen it, and you can repurpose content. So different platforms, or if you do email marketing, like I'm a big believer in not going and creating so much content that it's an overload. Like I tell my clients, like, okay, we created these posts, right, for Instagram. They'll go over to Facebook. We can then turn this post into a reel or a TikTok, but we can also take this information and turn it into an email to send out to your clients too.
Yeah.
Because the likelihood of someone seeing every single thing you posted is not
right.
It's not high. So, and the more you post out, the more you put out, the higher your chances are that people are going to see something.
Yeah.
So, and the same goes for newborn care specialists. Like if you have an email list, of like interested parents, same thing. Like as a newborn care specialist, even if your client no longer needs your services, you don't know who they know who then needs a service or needs somebody, and if you're not in their mind, they're not going to remember to refer you. I tell people, like, rule of thumb with like old school marketing, because I used to run a real estate company, was you needed to keep in touch with clients and old clients 6 times a year, so that way you're always fresh in their mind.
Right.
And I tell my birth worker clients that could be, the baby's birthday. So it could be the birthday, like send a card on the baby's birthday. It could be a Christmas a family Christmas card of yours for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever, or Kwanzaa. It could be, a Mother's or a Father's Day card, depending, on the structure of the family, or both. It could be a Father and a Mother's Day or whatever. It could just be like, checking in email. I was just thinking about you. How is baby, blah, blah, blah. But like, it's so easy. Like it should be part of everyone's marketing plan.
It's so funny. I thought you're just describing me. Because it's like 2 of them just hit their 6 months milestone, and like I went back in my phone with pictures that I took out of them. I'm like, oh, happy 6-month birthday, Shushu, and like put it in, send it to the parent and stuff like that. Clients that I passed with, and they celebrated their first Mother's Day, I sent them flowers. And that goes as a business write-off. Like I met with my accountant, and we were going through, because I'm about to send off some estimated payments that are huge. And he's like, okay, so what's that for? Because I had to give him all the expenses and I pulled up the business account that day, and he's like, okay, just give me all of those. And like, I haven't touched the money in the account other than things pertaining to clients, or like I do like personalized polo shirts with the logos from Land's End. So that's the only, so I was going down and telling him what all of those expensive for and stuff. So he's like, damn, you send so much in flowers? I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of clients. So it's
you don't have to go that crazy with flowers. I mean, even a card
No, and you see, I do things that I like. That's just who I am. So
yeah,
I
and
give
that's fine.
people basically what I would get in return, what I would love in return. And I mean, trust me, I kind of do it that way because I know what they did to
Yes.
me. You understand? So it's like
Yeah.
paying it back forward.
Absolutely. I mean, I love the idea. I think it's so cute when birth workers like leave the little onesies, like, you know, for the babies when they leave the jobs or something like, you know, my NCS is better than yours or whatever with the logo. Like, it's so cute. Like, I love that. And then you can take those pictures. And if they allow you to post those pictures,
them.
You know, of course you want, you know, written permission.
Yeah.
But
like my nanny, like all my nanny clients, practically all of them is on my social media. So they had given permission that I can
you want to
do
make
that.
sure you have written permission always.
Yes. No. Well, I got the written permission because when I did the noti, they had to write a waiver. So they like for the INA to post it on social media, and they were like, no, Kim, it's fine. They did that. But none of my NCS, usually I blow up my NCS client face. But I kind of did that with my last client that I just finished with. Like I give them t-shirts. So the parents had Protector of the Tiny Human, and mine had said Keep
so
of the
cute.
Tiny Human. And the baby own says, I'm the tiny human. So we all have pictures, you know, and I kind of did that with my nanny client. So I figure it's easier to do the same thing with the bird. I get them from nanny years. She makes them really nice. Yeah. So I kind of did that. And they were so blown away. And he's like a huge collector of liquor. So I had a friend send me up like white Hennessy and stuff from St. Vincent. He was like, what? Like I got another collection?
That's so cool.
Like even though I go into homes, I like take a little piece of what I see and what I hear they talk about and incorporate it as my.
Well, and that's our business is so personal. Like it's important. Yeah. And the thing is, I'll be honest with you, when I started my business, I hit up all of my past clients. And let me tell you, my first couple of clients were referrals from clients who know that I know what I'm doing. You know, it's good to keep in touch with people. Like I mean, I had a 21-year nanny career before I started doing this. And I can say that almost every single family, there's a few, but that I don't, but almost every single family I'm in touch with in some way, you know, and that's important. Like in business in general, because you never know, like just because I have a mom who has older kids doesn't mean that she's not going to meet someone, you know, tomorrow who needs service. You know what I mean? Like you just never know. So it's good to stay in contact and, you know, all that stuff, even if it's a quick email. So, but yeah, email, like for you, Sue, email marketing, like for Nanny Palooza, like honestly, a lot of people, I mean, even if you did, I mean, I don't know how often you do it, but like, even if you did a couple times a week, it's not, if you're giving value in your emails, people are not going to unsubscribe no matter how many emails you're putting out, as long as they have value in them. It's when they don't have value that they start unsubscribing.
Right. Yeah, I have a good list but I don't leverage it as much as I should, mostly because I'm kind of at the threshold right now of free account, and I have 2 of them, and and I can't really grow the list any bigger unless I start paying, and I don't have the money for that. Like honestly, there's just, you know, you can't marketing like MailChimp and all of those, that email is so expensive. So that's why I've been focusing more on the social part of it. Because even if I have to pay for some, like even if I pay social, that's less expensive than, like I think with the email, once your list gets over 2,000, you know, you're spending $50 a month, which is an enormous amount of money for where I am with Nanny.
You have MailChimp. Have you looked into other platforms?
I have a little bit. I have to admit it, I haven't that much. The few that I looked at, all of them were right around that 2,000. So my list is more like, it's less than 4,000, but more than 3,000. But I have it split into 2 free accounts.
So the only thing that the only tip I'll give you is the problem is yes, obviously you want to focus on social, but you need to push them somewhere, because the problem is I tell people your social media is borrowed. You're renting that land. You don't own it, but you own your email list and you own your website.
Right.
So those are two things you really want to push to, because otherwise, like, Mark Zuckerberg could say, "Oh, I'm going to shut down Instagram tomorrow," and we're
Yeah.
all SOL. There's nothing we could do.
No, that's why I try to push to the website all the time and try to funnel
But
everything
you're
through
not
it.
capturing
Right.
you're not, if you,
No.
email is so much different. Like, you're capturing email, and that gives you opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to build the KLT method. So, like, know, like, and trust, which
Right.
is like the basis of marketing, which then maybe they're not willing to buy at that moment, because that ticket or
Right.
product at that moment, and you're pushing to the website. But if you have that email, you're giving yourself so many more opportunities to build that KLT, to then have them become a conversion.
Yeah.
So
No, listen, it's all I've done everything so wrong. Like
I
I'm the
mean, at least
beginning.
you're willing to admit it.
That's why if you're listening to this and you're like just like Kim, so she's sort of still just starting out, the best advice in all of this arena of that transition from just nanny to some sort of a business beyond just nanny, or even transferring the way you think about nannying to more of a business, it's like setting up from the beginning. So, like, for instance, if you are going to start capturing emails, start from the beginning with a really good form. Because I didn't. I just started collecting emails. So now my email list isn't as effective as it could be because it's international, but I don't know where anyone is. So when I send an email, it goes to everybody. For
Yeah,
instance,
you
I
want
just,
tags.
yeah, so I just had this opportunity to work with Mommy Bites, which is a huge national brand, and they could do great things for me, but I'm held back slightly because they want to target right now the New York City area. Well, my email list is not set up to do that. So when I send an email out, with a co-branding opportunity, I can't target that because I didn't do it right in the beginning. So
Mhm.
like that really, the takeaway from all of this is what Stacey said at before was you have to think at the beginning or wherever you are, stop and think and say, what's my end game? What's my goal? What do I want to do? Do I want to be huge? Do I want to be small? Do I want to be local? Do I want to be national? Do I want to be internet? Like, I wish I had thought about all of those things when I got started and then set myself up to do that, as
Yeah.
opposed to now everything's very chaotic for me. And so I'm
And it
constantly,
can evolve. You can
yeah.
grow and evolve, but the more organized you are in the beginning, the better it is for you.
Well, and just to have a vision at the beginning of what you want out of it. I didn't know. We had created this. So for me, I was just nannying, and you didn't have to market yourself to families. The agencies did it for you. Now, I I still would use the agency, but if I was going to go into a job search, I would have a website, I would have a plan, I would be I I 100% would leverage this stuff for my own self because agencies, no matter where you are, 90% of the agencies are going to tell you that you're asking too much money. So I would rather be my own advocate. I mean, I'm going to use the agencies too because they're the gateway in a lot of times,
Mhm.
but I am going to advocate for myself. So I 100% think having a plan for yourself is good. But also, so many nannies I know now have these side businesses. They're consulting, they're working with parents, they're NCS, they want to be an influencer. And what you said is so important. Like, know what you want, what your end game is, what your ideal client, like knowing that as soon as you can figure that out, then you can stop sort of being like, I felt like an octopus at the beginning. Like, I was just like, okay, there's a fire here, or I have this idea here, or I'm going to do this here. And luckily, I have good products. And so I've been fortunate. And I did the research a long time ago, and those early years when social media was very different, I felt like I was used it really well. But if I could, like, that really is the big takeaway to me, is really sit down and think constructively, what do I want it to look like in 2 years from now? Like, you know, Kim's starting this NCS. Does she want to be the kind of NCS that travels all around the globe? And because that's one kind of audience that you want. But if you're an NCS that you have a family and you want to just be the person to call in, you know, in Philadelphia where I am, like, that's a different kind of audience. And so that's what I've learned. That's my big takeaway. And that's what you said is so true about that.
Yeah. And you can have multiple streams of income too. Like, you know, doing virtual consulting as an NCS is a different type of stream than, you know, being hands-on in person. And that's something you can add on, you know, or, you know, how you have multiple types of businesses, but they all kind of come together. They're multiple streams, right? And I'm a big believer in having multiple streams and passive income and all that kind of stuff, right? So even for my birth workers, I talk about, like, eventually, do you want to do a course? Do you want to do, what do you want to write a book? Do you want to do an ebook? Do you want, like, because those are all things you need to take in consideration, and all that is passive income. Like our nanny diary, like, of course it's not fully passive, but you could be selling in your sleep with your nanny, with our nanny diary, right? So those things are all things that need to take in consideration too, because all the millionaires and billionaires in the world, they have multiple streams of income. Like, that's how you build your income level, is by creating things that you can make money in your sleep, you know, or a more group to one, you know, maybe you're an NCS and you want to have like a one-to-many type of membership program, maybe because of, you know, I'm going to use Kim, you as an example, you have your nanny background. So maybe you are willing to do some sort of a membership program where it extends out after the NCS period and goes into, like, you know, the different milestones as they get older and, you know, up to a certain level or whatever, and they pay like a low $27 a month for it, but you're just putting in the content once, and then people can just come in, and it's just like, it's a constant rotation of income, and you're a one-to-many, you know. Or maybe you create a product like our nanny diary, and that is something you know, talk about on your social media and talk about on your website and talk about in things, and then that just is selling in the background. You know, there's like so many different ways to go about our types of businesses and what can be provided as a nanny or a nanny related business or a birth worker or stuff. There's so many avenues to go about it, but organization from the beginning is key. And as far as, like, for like the email list, like, you could tag, right? So you can have it set up where anytime someone buys our nanny diary, it tags them in the system that's where their name came from, right? So that way you can send individual emails out to different things. Now, in response to that as well, you want to set up some sort of a drip campaign, so that way they're not just putting in an email and then not getting anything. Maybe you have like a 5 email sequence that's pre-written, that's set up to automate, that triggers once they purchase that product. You know, thank you so much for, you know, our nanny diary, like, you know, and the next email is like, these are the different ways you can use it. And the next email is like, these are all the different add-ons things, you know, or here's the next, you know, and so on and so on. Or here we have a special private Facebook group for all our nanny diaries to talk about all the different ways you can utilize the different things with the journal, you know, like, there's so many ways you can go about it. But yeah, organization from the beginning is so important, especially if eventually you get to the point in your business where you need an assistant, or you want to bring someone to outsource something, right? Or whatever, like, you need to have some sort of organization to be able to hand and delegate things over.
Yeah, I always talk about, like, I buy, like, all my clients have one of the All Nanny Diaries planner, because I think it's so useful in terms of, like, documenting it and stuff like that. So, and they have it. So if they have a friend who's pregnant and they saw how resourceful it was for them, they would then go to the website and purchase it for their friend. So that's like a chain, like thing. Like I said, it all about boils down about what I like and what I give. So right back there, they're back at Sue's website and stuff like that. But I mean, my next client, that's like 4.5 months. And I'm like, I would have had to buy like 4 planners. So I reached out to Sue about that. And I said, hey, is there a way we can like get around this? And so, and she worked with me. And I mean, so I have it to use for that client, and stuff like that. So I get to print as many pages because I would have probably gone to like 4 to 5 planners, because it's so funny. I'm back with one of my night client now on day shift 3 days a week. And I literally just picked up the planner and I'm like, oh, I have to get you the nanny planner now. And I'm like, damn, there's not many pages left in this. And I wasn't even with her 24/7, but because I set her up and tell her she has to log daily as well for me to see what it is when I come in, it seems like it was a 24/7 rotation, both day and night. But that was like done in 3 months. 4 months to be exact, because there's just like a few pages left in it.
The NCS planner, like, you should be marketing to every birth worker, because
so we're working on that. But
because you have to think, like, they need logs, right? They need to know what's going on. And not only that, but if something happens with the baby, like I always tell parents, like, are you logging how much intake they're getting? Are you logging how many times they're pooping and peeing? Like, I can't tell you what's going on and why they're not sleeping or why they're fussy or whatever without a log. Like, if you're not logging this stuff. Same thing with the pediatrician. Like, if you're not giving that pediatrician information, they're not going to be able to know what's going on.
It's so we're doing that. And the one thing that we just discovered that I think is going to be a game changer for us is, so we've designed them, like the graphic design part of it and the what to include, what not to include, how to like make it work, right? So now what we're hoping to do is license what we did with Kim, is license it out so that we can brand it to your business.
That would be amazing.
So
you see how I always
Kim was our first actual, we've had a lot of like nibbles, but Kim actually pulled the trigger first. And also the house book with agencies, we're working with a couple of agencies to brand, so that you buy like a license to use those pages branded in your colors with your logo and everything.
That is amazing. That's such a smart idea. You need to start an email campaign with every single agency in the United States and start reaching out to them once you have like a product, a hands-on product that you can show them like what it would look like. Maybe do a video of it and showing them what it could look like, because and then even for the new birth workers, that's a great thing to add to their welcome packets.
Right.
And by the way, you need to reach out to Andrea, because the NCSA could probably work with you on that.
I know. I need to meet her, in fact, because I don't know her.
Okay, I will. Well, I'm a board member, so I will.
Good.
Yeah, I'll connect you. So good. She's like,
because I wanted to talk to her about access for Nanny Palooza too, but
I'll connect you, and when we're done with this, I'll connect you via Facebook Messenger.
That board, but yeah. So anyway, it really is just like, again, I don't want to hijack it's like I've gotten my own.
No, honestly, like I know, like it's all marketing, right? Social media is marketing. This is all marketing.
Yeah, but if you have a thing, it's like developing your expertise to a some sort of passive income stream that can help you. And then as you get older, like I am, and I'm nannying, eventually the goal would be to still nanny, but nanny less hours, because it's harder as you get older.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull the sheet up, Sue. What you did. Oh, there it is. So you see?
Yeah, so
That's amazing.
so
It's totally branded.
we have ours. So we even took off for Kim, not for everyone. We took off our logo because we'll keep our logo on a lot of them. But I knew Kim would refer us, so I was comfortable doing that for her. But so we've designed this, and there are other pages too that you could get branded. But this is the basic log, so it looks really nice, and we can I worked with Kim to make some small changes to it to be more what she wanted. And so then we just license it to her, and she can print as many as she wants and put them together how she wants for the client. Or you can still just buy the printed and bound ones that are, in our colors and whatever. But
will you offer an option where they can have their fully branded one that is bound?
no, because the cost of doing that you could 100%, but it would be close to $1,000 or more for probably 125 of them. So
that's not bad though, especially if you're giving it out to every client. I mean, you buy it once, you spend it, and then you have them. It's not like this kind of log is changing.
We could. It's an issue for us of figuring out like the pricing with the printer and everything. So like right now, our cost, the cheapest that we could get it would be if you did like at least 125 or so of the books, and it would be just over $1,000. So it is possible, but it's so funny. We started the business and we tried to just be downloads, right? And we were not successful. But we knew we had a great product. So then we were like, we're going to do that. We did a Kickstarter, raised the funds to do the printed and bound. And then it took off. And now we still have all these downloads that we offer people so that it's more cost effective. If you can't, the printed and bound are, between $35 and $40 a piece. So if the family's not paying and you're paying out of your pocket, that seems to be a lot. So then we put the downloads back up. Now the downloads are taking off, which is interesting to me. But yeah, and it depends too, because some people like them printed and bound. Other people like to put it together. Like for me as a nanny, I've always just done like.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can just hole punch it and put it in a binder.
I would prefer to print my own from, with the templates all set up for me, and then put it in a 3-ring binder, because then I have a pocket, then I can add other things to it as I go along. It's more sturdy, and then you just shift out the pages year by year, but it depends on what you want. Again,
which is exactly what I'm going to do, and I kind of have her do it in both of my colors, Stacey. So she did put the blue and the purple.
Nice. So, I like that. Are you on Etsy too? This might be really great on Etsy too.
We are not, because Etsy takes so much of money.
Okay.
So what I'd like to do is eventually get to Facebook with the printed ones. Not Facebook, Amazon with the printed ones. Amazon's prices are a little bit better. You get a little bit more return. Etsy, we would have to price them so high. I mean, you do get a different clientele.
If you do it as a download?
Not as a download.
I would do it as a download.
Downloads on Etsy.
Because I bet you geared towards parents. I would do it as a download. And then you could do like a print on demand type of book
But we have lots now. So we have the journals, but then we also have if you are doing lesson planning, we have an educator bundle with a bunch of different kinds of lesson plans. We just this week released a nanny evaluation package if you're looking to do a raise. So we have I think it's like 10 sheets with advice on how to give an evaluation for parents and how to ask for one for nanny.
I would put that on Etsy as a download, because then you upload it once, do it something low, like $5 a page or something like that. And I bet you could sell a ton of that. And then if you do the right SEO for that, you invest in the SEO for your website, just shoot it to Etsy, and then you even start marketing it on social media as downloadable pages for parents, and start tagging, hashtagging it for parents, pushing it towards Etsy or whatever. You could totally do that.
Yeah.
I mean, like I've seen a lot of even coloring pages on Etsy for like $5 and you download it yourself. And it's like it's like coloring pages. They created it once and then they just sold thousands of them for $5 each. Like,
and I think that's around the price range Sue has them on the website. It's for the download. It's about $5.
The download packages, the single sheets are $5, and then there's different bundles that we have. I'm super excited. We just put together a nanny onboarding kit with like what to talk about the first day and a checklist for what needs to be in your job description and where things are in the house and like all the things that if
like
you
an estate manager, like a house manager. Yeah, no.
If you had an HR department, this is what your first day with your nanny would look like, filling out these forms and going over all of this.
That's amazing. Yeah, I would put it on Etsy because then it just gives you a second
revenue
type, because people go on Etsy to look for that kind of stuff all the time. Like if you're, you know what I mean, price it the same, you know, or even a little bit more than what you're doing and just put it on Etsy and see how it goes. If you're not getting people downloading it, then you can always take it off. If it's downloaded, it's whatever. You're not paying the printer. It's already made.
I haven't thought about the downloads there because we started out trying to do the printed and bound ones there, but it just Etsy, like they take a chunk.
I wouldn't do the printed and bound ones on Etsy. I wouldn't buy a book on Etsy. I would do the download.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because people are always looking for that kind of stuff, you know, like if they don't have. Like there's so many parents that like are new to having a nanny or, you know, don't know how to organize that kind of stuff who might, you know, Google something. And
with our nanny diary, Kelly and I have got to get on Pinterest so I don't use Pinterest for Nanny Palooza. I did for a while and there's a lot of great content. Nanny Palooza has the great boards on Pinterest with like tons of ideas and things like that, but I found that most of that was me posting other people's
you need to know how to use keywords properly when you use Pinterest though, because if you're not utilizing proper keywords, you're not going to get the exposure that you want. But yes, definitely there's tons of that, and then you just shoot it back to your website. You just need to do that.
Pinterest for me seems like it's better for products than for services.
It is. So
this is marketing our nanny diary so different than marketing Nanny Palooza because Nanny Palooza is more like a service than a product, even though it's not really a service. But
so Nanny Palooza, it's good that you still have a board because I'm sure people will search like stuff for nanny related, and then it's just like the exposure. But yes, for a product that like now it's different. Like if you were, you know, people usually go on Pinterest for like recipes, for like art, you know, art ideas, things like that. You have to think again, it's your ideal client, right? Because it's, you know, they joke and they say that like it's the mommies at night or the daddies at night that are more mommies than daddies that are sitting there scrolling Pinterest, you know, in the middle of the night with baby. So yes, Nanny Palooza, and even like, you know, birth workers or nannies, you can have boards on Pinterest just for the exposure. But yes, it's more like product based, or if you're offering free things like recipes or art projects and things like that, that's usually what people go on. But yeah, a download for sure. I know so many people that hop on Pinterest and they look for specific downloads or whatnot. But again, you need to know how to use keywords properly and that kind of stuff, or else you're not going to get the type of exposure on Pinterest that you probably would otherwise.
Right. 100%.
Yeah, Pinterest is another great resource. I do always tell anybody who blogs, like any of my birth workers or even nannies that blog, like putting the blogs on Pinterest. So it's not the same type of exposure, but I mean, and that's the thing too, is if you're doing a blog, you can turn that into content as well. Like I have a client and they put a blog out once a week, and I turn one of my content pillars is their blog. And so I like write about their blog, and then I push people, if you want more information, I just give little tidbits that's in the blog. If you want more information on this, click the link in bio to check out the full blog on our website.
Yeah.
And it's pushed their numbers up. And in the second month of being with them, their business went up 30%.
Wow, that's great.
So
Woohoo.
yeah, I feel like it's been 2 hours.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if
I
anybody else
usually
learned anything, but I got a lot out of it.
no, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I mean, I think for their first LA chapter meeting, they kind of did this, but it needed more. And that's part of why I always said to her that she need an entire segment, because there's so much behind this that I really myself want to learn more about for my business.
There's so much about marketing, social, all of it. But it's such an important part, and it's changed so much from like what it used to be back in the day. So
Yeah, I know we probably have to do like a whole Zoom weekend, and like it shows up on my screen and then we're doing, because I'm like that hands-on type of person too, that I have to be that tactical learner.
yeah.
It's not just the screen.
Yeah. Well, so other than that social, I can't remember the name of it. It's like social something on Netflix, and it talks about like social media and like all the stuff behind it, which will change your idea of social media. But recently I watched Lula Rich. Have you guys heard about
I
that?
just watched that.
Okay.
I binged it in like a day. It was so interesting to me.
Yes. So it's Lula Rich is all about about LuLaRoe, right? So I was talking to him about my marketing mastermind about that. Now, obviously, the fear mongering and the religion aspect and all that stuff is not good, right? But their marketing is genius. Like, they used in their verbiage on printed material and stuff, they used words and verbiage that they knew would attract people. Like their target were like stay-at-home moms who wanted to help provide for the family, and in their marketing they literally said that like, we're all about family and helping you stay home to raise your kids. Like they used that type of verbiage, so it was very appealing. And then they utilized Facebook Live when it like first started. So like that was like they pushed everyone to do lives and post on social media about how wonderful their lives are and how, all these things that they're getting and stuff, because that's the human, right? That's human nature, is you see people, and that's how MLMs work, right?
Right.
You see people like that are getting the vacations and getting the jewelry and making all this money and getting the free cars and all this stuff. And you're like, I want that. And if she can do it, I can do it. And that they literally like, they fed off that. That's literally, it's like marketing. It's genius marketing. I mean, that's what it is, right? That's how marketing works. You're telling them like, why do you need this product? This product's going to make your life easier.
Yeah. Well, it's telling a story. So we're actually working on the INA website right now. We're doing a brand refresh with a marketer, and she had us use this great thing called Storyboards, where basically with marketing now, you're talking to people and you're engaging them in a story. And that this guy gave this great speech, and he was like, basically with your website and really all of your social media and your whole message, it's how can I help you survive and thrive in your life? Not talking about yourself, but talking to them about how you can help them. And
it's the KLT method, the know, like, and trust method.
If you're a nanny or a nanny related business marketing to parents like NCSs or nannies, basically what you want to do is paint a picture of how you're gonna make these people feel, how you're gonna make their life better. And for parents, it's giving them work-life balance. Like, that's huge, right? I'm going to give you the gift of time. Nobody else can give you time. No product you buy is going to give you real, honest time. That's the advantage that newborn care specialists and nannies have in that market, I think, is being able to say to a parent, here's what I have, all this knowledge and everything else, but mostly what I'm going to do is make your life easier so that you have more time to spend with your kid.
But it's not just time, it's quality time.
Quality time, right.
Because
So
that's the thing is like, you know, you can have time with your kid and, you know, where you're doing something else and they're playing next to you. It's not the same.
right. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And so, and I think that with that LuLaRoe thing, it was very interesting because it was the same sort of thing. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you a chance to be a stay-at-home mom and still be successful financially for a bunch of moms who that's all they want. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can tap into that as a newborn care specialist or a parent consultant or a sleep trainer or a nanny or any of that, if you can find a way to communicate that you can give parents, you know, even an hour more a day where they get to spend with their kid and just breathe and not worry about anything
Mm-hmm.
else.
It's exactly
Yeah,
like that. And that's what you have to do with every business is you have to figure out why your ideal client would need this or need your service and why what it does for them, and then you need to build the know like and trust factor around that.
yeah.
That's exactly, you're building the story around it,
So,
literally. So now granted LuLaRoe didn't actually do that because they ended up making people work till, you know, whatever, and ended up bankrupt and stuff like that, but the marketing was genius.
right, exactly.
Totally. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that the INA is doing that and changing that up. And I'm excited to not see the green and the mustard color.
Well, the green's not going anywhere, but we have these
Okay.
new colors.
Is there no mustard though?
No, it's more like beachy tones.
Okay.
So it very much feels more of the moment for sure. And it's not just the green in that. There's like five colors. A couple are like just little hits, and then a deeper, darker green to add a little gravitas and some masculinity to our you know,
The color palette.
exactly. We're trying to be diverse and welcoming to all. But
Yeah.
it's
That's
like this
amazing.
whole beachy tone, and we have a new member portal that'll be much easier to use. And the website's going to be organized with these landing pages. So it'll be easier to find things. So, like if you're a nanny and you go to the website, you can click nanny and it takes you to your own like page that highlights the things you're most likely looking for.
So it has call to actions throughout it.
Right, and call to actions throughout the whole thing to be a member, to be a part of it. And then you'll actually be able to access like right there on the website you'll be able to sign in and access like previous recordings of chapter meetings or
Amazing.
things. It'll be much easier to get to that content.
So it keeps it
Um,
within the platform
yeah,
versus
not a
like pushing it
hundred
out to
percent,
YouTube or whatever.
not 100%, but more, especially for the now for the free content. A lot of that gets pushed out more, but for like the member content, it will definitely be easier
That's
to,
amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
call to actions are important on social media as well as on websites. Like I tell people whenever, you know, you have a lot of birth workers like, "Oh, can you check my website, you know, in the groups and stuff?" And there's not enough call to actions. Like even
yeah,
an email marketing, like you need to have at least 3 call to actions, you know, on your emails, like 3 different places where they can click and get to whatever you're talking about, you know. And the same thing, every single post you do, even your reels, they have to have a call to action in it. Like what do you want them to do? Do you want them to answer a question? Do you want them to DM you? You want them to click the link in bio? Do you want them to, you know, follow you? Do you want that? What do you want them to do? You need to tell people what you want them to do, like
yeah,
not let them guess, because otherwise they're not going to do it.
yeah. So, but if you're an IM member watching this, then you should know that this is coming, but before the end of the year, I think, and it'll be fun. And if you are listening and you see it and you love it, tell us. But if you don't love it, tell us too, because it's kind of a crapshoot. Like one thing that is difficult for INA is sort of trying to decide what the ideal audience really is, because it's such a
There's
huge.
2.
Well,
There
there's
or
like
3.
five, yeah, because it's parents, which we want to get more
Oh, and then you have the
involved, and then the
agencies.
agencies, and then the related business, and then the NCS, and the nannies, and what we discovered is that all of those
That's
different
different.
audiences have very different sort of needs and opinions. Again, I
Yeah.
can keep talking, and I know Kim's ready to end this, so I'll.
She's probably tired. Needs to take a nap.
I need to. I have a 16-hour shift tonight.
Oh, geez. Well, thanks so much, Stacey. This is awesome.
Of course. Thank you. And thank you, Kim, for having me. I appreciate it.
I want to say thank you for being here.
I hope I gave enough information.
You did for me, but I'll still be reaching out because
of course.
it's like Tanya has a saying to say, it's not my area of expertise, so I'd rather have someone else deal with it. So I'd rather do that and have it done professionally than me doing it and like trying to mess everything up.
I am a big believer in like helping as much as possible. So, you know, my DMs are always open, or
yes, and you have been
or whatever.
You have been a tremendous source, and like anyone reach out to me with anything, I'm like, even though I'm in the how to do it, I'm gonna send you to Stacey because she's the one that because like now I can definitely help others create a web LLC in New York. I know all the steps, but no,
it's a lot though. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you know the steps, it's like
I have all the links. Like I haven't deleted everything, so I can copy the links the same and let them do it. But then I don't want them to do it and mess anything up. So I'll say, okay, reach back out to Stacey because like there are 2 people that I spoke with that didn't know that they have to publish in New York. They just did the
and that's a whole process, by the way, because you have to like get the county clerk to find out who you can publish, who they're allowing you to publish,
and they're the ones
get a hold of the publishers who like nobody's in the office anymore right now. So it's like it's like a whole
but it was good because I was able to do everything through email, so I didn't have to go in. So like for example, when you send a link with the county clerk, which was right where I work, I said, you know what, let me shoot them an email and see, and they responded right away and CC'd the correct department that it was supposed to go. So I just sent all the stuff that I received from the state through them, and they sent me the 2 newspapers. And it's not like you can choose your newspapers, they sent you the newspapers. So then I reached out to them, and I think one has to be published every day for 6 weeks, and one published once a week for 6 weeks. Like the 2 people didn't know that, and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And even when you finish that now and you get the affidavit back, you have to send it to Albany. I actually just received back the stuff from the state with that.
Amazing. Even then, like I had one person who I was helping that like the county clerk didn't have an email. They only had a phone number, and then they weren't answering the phone. It was like, you know, and I had one who like, so I ended up just having to contact all the newspapers in the area to see if someone could do it. Cause I was like, they're not responding. Like, what am I going to do?
I know. Yeah. So but it's a lot of work. It's a lot. It's not just like filing the article of organization. And that's what most people I think in New York do. File the article of organization and then go and apply for the EIN through the IRS, and they're done. So it's not, and the good part about that and the bad part about it is you create your business. But like for me, who use my personal address, like everybody now knows where Kim lives because of a business, you know.
Yeah, but most people don't know how to look it up, so you're good.
No, but trust me, it is there.
Yeah,
it is there.
Yeah, so
I just want to thank everyone for being here today. I know everyone has a busy schedule, so it was great seeing your faces. And Stacey, I want to say thank you so much for your time and your knowledge that you imparted on us today. So
of course,
it was great.
And Kelsey, I know you're muted or quiet. I hope that you have a good day and you enjoyed it.
I did. I actually got some information out of it. It was very helpful. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Good. I'm so glad.